Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Yin Yoga. Let's take a comfortable seat. Close the eyes. And take a nice full breath down into the belly. Allow yourself to settle. And become aware of the one thing that is constant, our awareness. With your eyes closed, our awareness, along with our senses, yes, can track the body in the space you're in, can track the space that you're in. And you, if you choose to, bring your awareness to your larger space, like your home, the property that you're on. Your awareness can connect with all of that. And it is the one constant, the something that we are born with and have always with us. So taking a moment just to connect with that. And notice anything that's present once you bring your awareness forward. Allow the hands to come to the heart center. Holding anything that's present for you, any intention that you came to the mat with, and allow the class to be exactly what you need. Take a nice deep breath. And as we exhale, the hands can relax away from the heart, the eyes can flutter open, and we come back. All right, so as we always do, let's start lying down on the mat, on your back, taking that understanding of awareness to the body. And so once you lie down, let your legs go all the way down, let your arms come by your side, palms up, like you're gonna do Shavasana. And then just allow yourself to drop in again and become aware of your physical body. And again, I find it really fascinating if you close your eyes, you can see your physical body. You know exactly what it looks like. You know exactly how you're shaped on the floor. Some people call it our internal mind's eye, but ultimately it's all awareness. Notice how the body is breathing. And notice the state of your mind. And today, go a little bit deeper and notice the state of your heart, where your feelings and your emotions lie. And then from here, let's bend the knees, take the feet as wide as the mat. Allow your body to adjust it in the lower back if you need to, and take your arms open into a T shape. Once you're here, I want you to think about your knees and your hands and your head moving all at once. So let's start with the knees. Take a breath. And as you exhale, let your knees just drift over to the right and your eyes drift over to the left. Simple movement. Pause here for a moment and turn your left palm up and your right palm down. Internally and externally rotating your shoulders while you internally and externally rotate your hips. On your next inhale, bring yourself to center. Let your knees drift over to the left, bring your eyes to the right, and flip your hands over. So now your right hand is up and your left hand is down. Now, if you bring your hands completely parallel to your shoulders, they're gonna feel one way. If you bring your hands a little higher, it's gonna feel a different way. So find the sort of edge. And then as you inhale, bring everything up to center. And as you exhale, turn head, let knees go other way, flip hands. Inhaling, come to center. And you're moving in slow motion, remember, and turning palms, turning head. So everything moves together like a dance, like an integrated dance. Nothing moves isolated. And try to keep your head down on the floor while you turn your eyes left and right so that your whole system feels calm and stable and grounded. And if your shoulders have the fluidity and the freedom, as you flip your hands over, you could keep turning the palm up over even more on its thumb, as if you're going to flip it all the way over in a full rotation. So as you turn your palm up and you're looking at your hand, you might flip it up on a thumb and see if you can keep turning it. And if you're doing that, you might notice that there is more freedom in your leg movement, in your hip movement. Unwinding this fascia, connective tissue in this slow somatic way. Talking to the nervous system, allowing the nervous system to regulate itself. Do one more. Just allowing yourself to feel and sense and enjoy this sweet action. And then come back to center. And allow your knees just to drift into each other. Pause here for a moment and then bring your legs all the way down and arms all the way down. And then just recheck. My back cracked 2 or 3 different times in that little journey, telling me that I had some tension that I didn't even realize I had. Do you feel more spaciousness? Is there a deeper breath? I'm going to take one more breath. And then allow your knees to bend, rolling over onto your side. We're going to come to your belly. Our first pose, our first yin pose, whoops, I forgot my timer. My first yin pose is Sphinx. So come up onto your elbows. Let your knees be a little bit wider apart. A couple of options here. Remember, if you want to have less weight on your shoulders, take your blanket or your bolster underneath your ribs, underneath your chest, not under your belly. So if I do that, my arms are free and I can be here. Sometimes that's helpful for the shoulders. If you want to go higher, like say you do Sphinx all the time and you want to do something higher, take that same bolster or same blanket, put it underneath your pelvis, and then you can prop yourself up on your arms. So I'm doing the exact same thing, it's just a little bit variation. I'm going to stay here for our duration. So just go ahead and find that edge, find that sweet spot. Shoulders drift down the back. Allowing yourself to fall into a nice breath. And so what I was inspired to talk about today, this awareness, I heard a famous meditation teacher talking about meditation and mindfulness and awareness. His name is John Kabat-Zinn. You might have heard of him. He's kind of all over the place. And he said something that I talk about all the time, but I've never heard it said this way before. He said that we are born with awareness. That awareness is always at a ready. That's what the yogis call purusha, awareness. But the problem arises with the access, because we are creatures of needing to know and distraction and lots of things in the, like right in front of our face all the time. And we don't allow ourselves much time, much space to really notice this deep awareness that's always present, it's always there. And so I loved the way that was languaged, that we are born with it. It's part of our being. It isn't something that we go find. It's part of us. We just have to soften a little bit, get access to it. And then the next question always is, so what? So what if I have access to awareness? Why do I care about that? Well, the teachings tell us that when you have more consciousness or more awareness, you live a more mindful life. There's space to pause and take a breath and respond to what might be going on around you, rather than being really reactive, or maybe diminish it with things that distract us, like addictions and talking and purchasing things we don't need, all these kinds of things that distract us. And so the fact that you're here tells me that you have some understanding of this, and you have some experience with its value. And when we find that awareness, we actually have a softer experience, I would say. Take a nice deep breath. And then wherever you are, just allow yourself to come down. If the bolster's under your ribs, move it away. But if it's under your pelvis, you can keep it there. Let your head come down on the hands and just pause here for a moment. Take a breath or two. Our next shape is pushing away from the floor. We're going to come to child's pose. Knees are wider than your hips or your feet touch. A couple of different options here. So child's pose is with your hips all the way back. And I want your arms out in front of you today. You can use the floor, or you can see that I'm using my bolster, and I'm going to reach my arms on my bolster, setting myself down, letting my chest and my head release to the floor. And we're going to pause here for a couple of minutes. And so whether your hands are on the floor or on your blocks or your bolster, just allow your chest and maybe the crown of your head to release downward. You may or may not touch the floor, that doesn't matter. I'm on my bolster, so my head definitely doesn't touch the floor. If my hands were on the floor, it would. And I want you to just pay attention to the front part of your chest and armpit, feeling space. You might have a sense of stretch along the sides of your body, or maybe in your lower back. And you use this awareness, this muscle of awareness is what I like to call it. Develop the muscle of awareness. So every time we get still, every time we bring this to our consciousness, we build that muscle of awareness again. So we're in this nice, easy shape. We're feeling and sensing all of the parts. We're noticing the breath at the nostrils and down in the belly. We're not allowing the distractions to pull us off center. If the distraction comes, just bring yourself back. Yin can be considered a moving meditation. And with moving meditations, we can use our body and the density of our body to help keep us grounded. And of course our mind is going to wander. Of course it is. That's what it does. And then we come back. And then we come back. And over time, the distractions don't even pull you off center. You'll notice them, but they won't even notice it. I mean, you'll notice it, but you won't react, is what I'm saying. So I find that to be really comforting. That we are not victims of the chaos that's around us. We are not. We can just pull ourselves back in, connect to our deep sense of awareness and consciousness and heart. And breathe. And then go ahead and take a nice deep breath and slowly moving your way out of that. So once you've come up, I want you to come to tabletop. Stretch the backs of your knees open by turning the ball of your foot under and press through the ball of the foot. And you'll feel that sensation open up the back of your knees. Make sure you do both legs. All right. The next piece we're going to do is going to be up on our knees. We're going to move into a lizard pose, this is called. So you might want your blocks near you. I want you to take your right foot forward. Remember to pad your left knee if this is a problem. And I want you to take your right foot to the edge of the mat, so it's a lot wider, and turn it a little bit on an angle. So the language I use is the heel is on the mat, but the ball of the foot isn't. And then take your blocks in front of you and walk them forward. They can be all the way up if you want. And you're going to start to drift forward, letting this knee track right over your foot. Now this is my personal opinion, I like the knee tracking past the ankle so that you get some action in the foot and the ankle itself. You can be here. This is not going to be a problem for your knee. If you know it's a problem, don't do it. But if you don't have any sensation, don't worry about it. So I dropped my blocks down a little bit because I felt like they were a little too high. What I want is I want your arms straight. I want your chest up, and I want your hips to drift forward and down until you come to your edge. Whatever that edge is for you. So the hardest part about this is effort. We're not just using gravity to help us open tissue. We're actually using some of our own ability, our own body ability to hold us here. And so if you have your hands directly underneath your shoulders and you're just pressing down into the blocks, you'll have more or less muscle work. We're focusing mostly right now on the lower body. We're noticing any sensations that are present that you might not have noticed before. And so the yoga teachings around awareness and around the focusing of the mind or the calming of the mind is with Patanjali's teachings with our first sutra, which he says yoga is the stillness or the stilling of the fluctuations of the mind. Ultimately, that's what we're looking for. And when the mind becomes more subtle and quiet, we begin to have this perception of awareness, or what he would call levels of expansion, that we don't normally notice. And when you're in that space and time, everything is fine. There's no worry, there's no fear, there's no energy of anything. It's just peace and calm, ease and flow. Take a nice deep breath. And then slowly moving your way back. Hips are going to move back. You're going to come off of that action. And then slide your foot back, your right foot back. And you can pause here for a moment. Take a minute here. And then as you feel ready, the left foot steps forward. The left heel's on the mat, the ball of the foot is just off the mat. You gotta adjust yourself so that as you let your hips move forward, your knee bypasses your ankle, if that's good for you, and your hands are holding you upright. And so from here, we find our second side. We use the sensations of the body to help guide us, remember? So if it's too much, you gotta back up a little. And if it's too little, you gotta ask a little bit more. And each side is going to be a little bit different. So enjoy that awareness of understanding that we are very bilateral people. And each side of our body is a little bit different. I talked about that last week. And so isn't it an interesting concept? This same talk that Kabat-Zinn was in, John Kabat-Zinn was in, another man was talking. It was a really interesting conversation. If you're interested, John Kabat-Zinn, on his front homepage on his website was this video of this talk that I'm referring to. And this other meditator was saying that our mind is just full of stupid junk. That every thought we have is just garbage, and just to let it flow through us. And that he was talking about the people that fall into the category of needing to say everything they think because they believe everything they think is important. And these men were basically saying that pretty much everything you think isn't important and you should just let it go. And I just found that kind of funny, but relevant. I found it relevant. And of course, they were talking in relationship to the power of meditation and awareness and mindful living and things of that nature. And I think we all need to hear that over and over and over again right now. Take a nice deep breath. And then as you exhale, go ahead and slowly move back. Taking your leg back, coming back into that tabletop position. It might feel good to do a little child's pose here. I've got my hands still on my blocks. You can put them down off of their blocks. We're going to move into a secondary position here, so I want you to move your blocks out to the side. Come back to the first side. right foot forward. We're going to keep it straight out in front of us now. And we're going to straighten this front leg. And what I want you not to do is bring your hip past your knee. So you can see that if I did that, my hip would be backwards. So I'm going to wiggle my foot forward until I can straighten this front leg and my hip is pretty much straight over my knee. From here, you can use your blocks, bring them up a little higher so that your spine is longer. I don't necessarily want you to collapse down, but if it feels like that's where you need to go to get your edge, then you can do that. We're working now on the back of the leg. Your foot is flat on the floor, big toe is down. And so if I were taking care of my back, maybe something happened to my lower back. It didn't, but maybe if it did, I wouldn't round over, I would stay up. And I would work on hinging from my hip so that I feel the sensation in my front leg. If you don't have anything going on with your back, you might find that, rounding over gives you more sensation. Maybe you're going to come down on your forearms on your blocks, or maybe your fingers are on the floor. Find that edge. Work with your own body, your own knowing. And let the weight of your body and gravity help you find these subtle tissues in the body. You might notice them around the inner and outer side of your ankle or knee. You might notice it around your foot. Softening shoulders, letting go of any tension. Softening into that awareness field of consciousness. Noticing what you're doing with your head. If you're looking straight ahead, you might create some tension in your neck that might not be optimal. So I like to find a focal point on my mat somewhere. Like I've got a little spot on my mat that I look at. Or you could close your eyes and keep your head in a neutral position. Remember, big toe stays down on the floor. That's the default. That big toe will start to lift up and move away. Take one more breath here. And then as you inhale, release that front leg and then slide it back. Pausing in the middle and then take the other side when you're ready. So this one, you want to make sure, remember, as you straighten this front leg, your hip and your knee are stacked over each other. I don't want you to put a lot of excess pressure on your back leg. Keeping the big toe down. And I like to think about extending my hip back, like I'm trying to lengthen the back of my leg rather than drop down to the floor. And as we're here, we're just practicing coming back to the body, coming back to the sensations, coming back to your awareness of the present moment. The other thing that building this awareness muscle helps us to do is to not miss our life. Because if we're always thinking about the next thing, or if we're always thinking about what happened before and what could happen next, we completely miss the moment we're in. And then all of a sudden you're 103 and you're ready to go and you think, what happened to my life? Where'd it go? Reminding you that the state of worrying about the future is called anxiety. And the state of worrying about what happened before. It's called depression. We don't need to be in either one of those states. We can just be right here, right now, not missing our life. And if this is a new concept or a hard concept, just keep working at it because it really does have a lot of benefits physically. It helps our cells be healthy. We are not in healthy cell mode when we are, worried or depressed. And it helps bring a sense of calm to the ecosystem that we call your body. Breathing. Softening. Take one more breath. And then inhale, come forward. Soften your front knee as you slide it back. And then one last time, if you want to go back to child's pose, maybe stretch your arms out. This will be the last bit here. If child's pose or being on your knees has been enough, you can come to seat because that's where we're going next. All right, so once we're seated, just stretch your legs out a little bit. Remember when you massage the knees, I like to use my knuckles and I go back and forth, like creating a little vibration around my knees. It sends a signal to your connective tissue around your knees to let go of any unnecessary holding and resets your upper and lower leg. And so if you've ever found yourself like massaging around your kneecaps or around your knees, your body knows that that's what's happening, but of course we don't know it. I find that fascinating. All right, so moving on. I want you to take let's start with your left leg up and wrap it around the bottom leg. So your knee is facing forward, not off to the side. See if you can do that. And then sit up really tall, and I'll use myself as an example. I'm a little tight this morning, so I feel a little bit like I could fall over. If you have your blanket or you have something that you could sit up on, rolled up towel, anything like that, edge of your blanket, do that. And then we can use the blocks again, or you could use just the floor. So we're going to sit up tall and we're going to start to ask a little bit of this front hip. Now, if your bottom leg is getting too much tension, take something and put it underneath your bottom leg. So I could put it underneath my leg so my leg is bent, and now I can lean forward. Now I'm going to get this in this hip. All right. So finding a place where you can hold your top leg. You can use your blocks to hold your hands. You can reach your hands out in front of you. And as we're here, we just find a place for our eyes to rest. Maybe if you cannot do that and you find your eyes darting all over, just close your eyes. And we're just allowing ourselves to open in these places that may not be very open. I like to call them sticky places. Without judgment, without any kind of worry about what it means or what it's about. We just be. allowing yourself to move as the sensations start to go away. Just keep reminding yourself that we're always looking for tension against the tissues. And so if they go away, just move a tiny little bit more into the shape so that you get more sensation. That's a good thing if the sensations go away. That means that the tissues are softening. They're building resilience, if you will. Take a nice deep breath. And then slowly starting to sit up nice and straight. We're going to do one more here. So if you've got your left leg in front of you on top, take your right hand on your leg, left hand behind you. I want you to go into a twist. So sit up tall first, use your back hand to help you, and then turn towards that side. And you're going to find your edge here where you can't go any further, and that's where you pause. Your arm, your top hand can hold your leg, or you could stretch your arm out and gently push against that leg just to hold yourself in place. Softening down into the earth with your hips, especially the leg that's crossed over. Softening your eyes. Remember, drishti is an experience where we can just softly gaze at something and not move the eyes. It is a practice of awareness. It is a training of the mind. And just noticing any little twitching, itches, toe movement, anything like that. That's your nervous system not in a regulated state. And I speak to that because that's something that I deal with. And so just noticing the tendencies of your body as you become quieter and quieter. Take a nice deep breath. And then slowly releasing yourself. Once you come around to the front, lift up your top leg and stretch it out in front of you. And take a moment here before we go to the other side. Try to make sure that your hips feel even. And remember to put something under your straight leg if you get too much sensation there. So pick up your other leg, wrap it around you. So your foot is coming somewhere around the side of your body. Your knee is facing forward. Finding that edge where you want to be. You can hold on to the backs of your knee and just sit nice and tall and start to lean forward as you're ready. You could also just put your hands on your blocks. And so whatever you're doing, just allow yourself to soften into the sensations. Something curious that humans do is we are always looking for the comfort, right? It's too hot, we want to cool off. It's too cold, we want to warm up. There's too much sensation, we move away from it. The chair's too hard, we go into a softer one. We never allow ourselves to be with a little bit of discomfort. And there isn't anything wrong with making yourself comfortable, but when you're hyper diligent like that, you never actually allow yourself to adjust to the discomfort. And so in this case, as we're here with this practice, you make yourself just a little uncomfortable. You look for it on purpose. And then you soften into it, knowing that it's fine, that you're safe, that you're actually doing something really good for yourself. I'm thinking a little bit about, people that practice cold plunging. When I did meat camp in January, we did a cold plunge in the ocean. That was fun. Challenging us to do things that are a little uncomfortable, or maybe a lot uncomfortable. Helps us to build resilience. And in the physical aspect of yin, when you're a little bit uncomfortable and then these tissues respond to that discomfort by hydrating, becoming more resilient, it's actually a really good thing. Take one more nice deep breath. And then as you inhale, come all the way up. You're going to sit nice and tall. And then we're going to take that opposite hand on the leg, the other hand behind you, and you're going to start to turn with your spine stacked, shoulders over hips and head over shoulders, until you find your end range. Remember, your hand can be on your leg, or you can stretch your arm out. I've got my palm turned up to keep my shoulder open. And you find this twisting edge here, and then you just pause. I have a friend that spends a lot of time sitting. She's retired, but even before she wasn't retired, she sat in her job. So she sat a lot. And she's got a lot of, I'll call them limitations, because she doesn't like to be uncomfortable. Like even going for a walk makes her uncomfortable because it's not her normal chair sitting position. Standing up for long periods of time, lying down, none of it. It's sitting is her position. Now we know that sitting is the new smoking, and that really it's our job to try to move around as much as we can so that our tissues stay healthy and hydrated. So you can imagine this woman, she just turned 70, what's happening in her body. It's not a pretty thing. And she goes to doctors all the time looking for answers when the answer's right in front of her. But you can't see what you can't see, right? So that's been her world for a long time. I don't know if she's going to change that. So I think about people like that when I start to feel like I don't really want to get up and do anything. I think, yeah, I actually do. And we always feel better, right? When we move our body, always. I've never ever heard anybody say, God, I wish I wouldn't have done that. It didn't feel good. Most people will say, I am so glad I got off the couch. Take a nice deep breath. And then slowly starting to unwind yourself. Picking up your top leg, stretching that leg down. And then from here, move your props out of the way and bring your legs into butterfly pose, feet away from you. And before we go into the shape, I want you to take your thumbs and massage the bottom of your feet. Go right to that kidney 1 point, which is right at the base of your ball of your foot, kind of right in the middle. You'll find it's very natural. It's very intuitive. If it's tender, remember this is something you need to do on a regular. So just keep massaging. Finding all the little tender points and really rub into them. And then when you feel ready, you can relax that. Find your props. So 2 blocks stacked on top of each other work. 1 bolster can work. No, nothing can work, just your hands. And start to lean forward over your legs in this butterfly shape. This is a nice one. We haven't done this yet today. Elbows on whatever head is resting in your hands, if you've got a bolster like I do. If you have your blocks, you might be able to stack your blocks so that your head can rest on your blocks. And as we rest here, it's nice to close your eyes and let your weight of your body move with gravity. And as your tissues start to hydrate and get a little bit more supple, your body will kind of fall forward more and more. And breathing into the sensations that you feel, bringing prana to those areas. This entire class is honestly nothing more than building awareness, building the muscle of awareness, moving with intention, purposely bringing enough stress to the body so that the body can respond and become more resilient. So rather than staying in your super comfy stage all the time, do something that's a little bit uncomfortable. Do something that challenges your edge a little bit. Doesn't have to be hard. And keep training your mind and your mindfulness to come back if it starts to wander away. Remember, our thoughts are only just a bunch of nonsense in our head. So just notice with like a smile on your face how often we get these like random thoughts in our head. They don't mean anything. And this particular group of men that we're talking were actually challenging their audience to not believe everything that they think. And to certainly not share everything that they think. Not get too attached to any of it. You're taking a nice deep breath. And then slowly making your way up. And taking the bolster or blanket or blocks out of the way, supporting your legs as you bring them to center. Stretch the legs out. Maybe rotate your ankles a little bit. And we're going to find our way onto the floor, onto our backs, like we started. As you're here, when you're lying down, just take a moment to readjust your hips, readjust your shoulders, finding that nice, sweet, balanced place. And then as we're here, I want you to bring your hips over to the right. Cross your left ankle over your right knee, so you're in that figure four kind of shape. And then let your legs drift over to the left. So if it feels too far, the floor feels too far, put something underneath your legs. Like for some reason that feels too far for me, so I shove my block under my left leg. And then take your arms to cactus. Your arms go in cactus. If they don't go in cactus, take them out to the T again. And turn your head so that it's to the right. We're going to breathe here. Finding that heaviness in the body as we lay down on the mat. Nothing really to hold us here. So we can just let go a little bit, don't have to work as hard, and just feel and sense the body responding to this final twist. And take a nice deep breath. Slowly bringing your legs up and your eyes up. Uncross your left foot and bring your hips back into the center. You can bring your arms down for a moment while you adjust. And then we'll try the other side. So hips go to the now left. Cross your right ankle over your left knee. And allow the legs to drift over to the right. Again, find something under your legs to support that twist if it feels like it's a little much. Turning your eyes to the left. Arms are back into that cactus shape. And then we pause here. And take a nice deep breath. And slowly bringing yourself back into the center. Uncross your ankle. Bring your hips back in the middle of the mat. Arms down by your side. And then from here, can you just pick your hips up a little? Kind of reset your pelvis. letting your hips go back down. And if it feels like you want to, bring your knees to your chest gently. Softening shoulders, jaw, neck. And then slowly letting your feet come back to the floor, finding Shavasana. Supporting your legs by maybe putting something under them if you need it for your lower back. Otherwise, let them go straight down. Supporting your head if you've got any kind of neck tension by putting something under your neck or your head. Hands are away from the body, palms open. If you need more grounding, put something on you or cover your body with your hands. And once you're settled, take a deep breath and allowing that exhale to bring you into your final moment of stillness. Take a longer and deeper breath. Slowly starting to stretch and move, bringing yourself back to your body. And as you feel ready, you can start to bend your knees. Gently roll to a side and pause. And as you feel ready, slowly sitting up, finding your way to an upright position. Hands coming to the heart center. Noticing the echo of the practice. The state of the body and mind. And the state of your heart. And gratitude always for our time together on the mat. Our deep body wisdom and guiding light. May our light always shine brightly, and may we always see the light in each other. Namaste.